Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everyone, to the new CSGO University Championship Varsity League. My name is Chunks, and joining me is the one and only Protar. Listen, let me tell you something. I am so excited for these games tonight. It's my first opportunity to get to cast some CSGO, and looking at some of the stats coming out from last week, watching last week's games, it's going to be a big one ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. We have two really interesting best-of-one matches ahead of us today. The first one is going to be the UWE Stags up against Manchester Hive. The UEC Stags, one of the favourite teams perhaps in this entire event to win the Varsity Series. And then in that second matchup, of course, we have the Oxford Brookes Vipers going up against Bath A. So I think it is going to be another interesting one to watch in that second best-of-one as well. A lot of competitive CS ahead of us.
Yeah,
sorry, not Bath A. My mistake.
I mean, Protalis, you were here last season. You know a couple of these teams, you know. Are there any names, any teams that are really sticking out to you coming into this? Because for a newbie like me who hasn't watched much University CSGO, we might not know a lot of the big names coming into this.
Sure, absolutely. Well, if you want to look sort of at some of the more tenured names in University Counter-Strike, then that Derby squad and the Oxford Brookes Vipers as well have been competing in the Newell for an incredibly long period of time. So there are players on those rosters perhaps that will be bringing a lot of experience coming forward into that second matchup today. But in terms of the first best of one that we have on our hands, individually speaking, you have to look at Crit for the UWEC Stags. He was absolutely phenomenal in the first week. He was the only player who averaged over a 100 ADR across all three maps, which means that in every round, on average, he's doing enough damage to get a kill, which is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and definitely a heavy fragger. 84 kills he managed to pick up. That's only in 3 games. That is absolutely huge, leading to a 2.15 KD. So absolutely slaying the lobby. Looking forward to see how he ends up performing. But I mean, Hibbo has got to be kind of the counterpart from Manchester Hive, picking up 52 kills last week. And that was only in 2 games, I believe, as one of the matches was forfeited for Manchester Hive. So that's going to be another player to watch and see if that trajectory carries over into a heavy fragging evening tonight.
Absolutely. It's going to be, I feel, really on the Manchester Hive squad to come up with an answer to this UWE Stags problem. As a squad, UE are very comfortable with the chaos. They like that puggy play style. They'll happily take you into scrappy, brawly kind of duels where you're trading 2 for 3, 2 for 4 in that kind of a scenario where as long as they can just dominate the gunfights really and catch you with those shock and awe tactics, they are happy to do so, which means maps like Mirage, like Vertigo's are going to be in their wheelhouse to potentially catch the Manchester side off guard. So I really do think there's going to have to be a lot of work coming out from the Manchester side. And Hibbo in particular, as you mentioned, he might need to step up individually as well in terms of the fragging, because in a best-of-one format, it really does lend itself towards those individuals where they potentially could just take over the entire map and win the game for their squad.
Yeah, you definitely see, especially in like the longer series, how, you know, it is heavily reliant on team play, and not to downplay how important team play is in a best of one, but it kind of gives teams the opportunity to see how the other team are playing after the first game, take a step back, adjust their play style accordingly. But when it comes down to best of ones like this, you have to go big in one game. So those frag heavy players are going to be the ones to look out for, and they can really be the make or break of the game.
Oh, 100%. And those frag-heavy players as well, you need to make sure that they don't get tilted if you're on the losing side, because a phenomenon you often see happen in esports is you have your carry of the team, for example, who has got the best stats on the board, but then let's say you're 10-0, 10-1 down, right? That player feels like it's his job to sort of dig the team out of the trench and go big and try and carry the squad to victory. So he starts getting a bit more reckless, trying to make just crazy plays to try and win rounds out of nowhere, and then more often than not ends up being slightly less effective because they're desperate to do something crazy to get their team back in the game. So absolutely managing the egos of those star fragging players and making sure they don't tilt in the best of ones, definitely a key component to look out for.
Yep, and I mean, you mentioned earlier that UE are one of those teams that were definitely going to be looking strong coming in. Last week, we had 3 games per team. They managed to win all 3 of them, so they're tied in the top 3 on the leaderboard right now. I'm excited to see whether Hive are going to be able to stop that force. They didn't have the best week last week. I have to say, they picked up 1 point, very good, but I think they just need to get something a little bit bigger coming into today. And I honestly think that there is the potential there for them to go big. And, you know, I'm not going to say it, but potentially pick up 2 points coming out of today.
Well, we are certainly going to have to see what kind of a performance they do try and put out. If they were only able to pick up the one map, Manchester Hive, last week, and we know that they had 1 forfeit victory, that doesn't particularly spell out too well for them in terms of their prospects going ahead into this week. But they did make it into Varsity, which is a feat in and of itself through those new qualification systems and the new setups of the tournaments. And in terms of a format you want to be going into as the underdog in Counter-Strike, the best of one absolutely is where you want to be. Those best of 3s, best of 5s, that's where your weaknesses can start to show in the map pool and you can get run out by the sort of extra space that there is in the series. But these best of 1 formats, especially the first ones of the day, you can win these outright just by being the most warmed up team out there. So if they can get lucky in the veto, end up on a map that they're more comfortable on, there's definitely a chance that they can take those sea stags down. But really the firepower from the University of the West of England is truly a terrifying prospect to face up against in the server tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if I was Hive, I'd be nervous, especially with last week's performance. And I mean, you touched on it a minute ago. These best of ones coming into them really warmed up. It can make an absolutely huge difference and give you insane momentum. Which is why I think it's important to note that in these best of 1 series, where we have 2 or 3 games per evening against different teams, that game 1 can just be so important because it kind of sets you up for the rest of the night. At the end of the day, Counter-Strike is a very, very mental game. You have to have really good mental fortitude. If you have a bad set, you just have to reset. You have to, you know, go back to it. And I think because this is kind of university esports, I think a lot of rivalries will have developed, and I think there is the potential that the mental aspect of the game, if they have a bad game 1, any of these teams going into game 2, it is going to be very hard for them to recover.
I would have to agree with you on that one as well, especially considering that if you have a long, drawn-out first game and you know your team for the second match is waiting in the wings for you to get involved, there might not be too big of a break for you between that. You might not be able to drill the mental resets. And with the best of 1 formats as well, you can end up on the same map all night if you end up particularly unlucky in your vetoes and, you know, everything just goes totally wrong for you in terms of those bans. You can just end up replaying the map, which already has sore wounds for you. Perhaps you might want to get away from for that mental recovery. So I really do think that the concept of momentum in multiple best of 1s really can benefit teams, perhaps more than it would in that best of 3 format, where you're going to get the change of territory and you end up on your guaranteed map pick at least once. Whereas in these sort of best of 1 nights, you can end up on uncomfortable territory every single map. And then if you're, you know, star players start tilting, like we've already mentioned, then it can start to go seriously wrong throughout the evening. And let's not forget that this Varsity tournament is the one with those big prizes. So you don't want to be fumbling in the early stages of the tournament.
Yep, and you mentioned the map veto. I think it is time to go and have a look over it, and we'll see what is going to unfold. And let's see what our first ban is going to be. It's going to be a Nuke. A very, very, you know, honestly, my 2 least favorite maps are gone, so I'm over the moon right now. Nuke, Vertigo, Train, all going to be out of the map pool. We'll see what comes up next. It's going to be Mirage ban by Sea Stags. Dust 2 going to be getting banned by Hive.
That leaves us Inferno and Overpass, and I would imagine we go to Inferno out of those 2 remaining, especially with Manchester Hive. Oh no, it was Sea Stags who had the pick. So they take us to Overpass, which is going to be an interesting one. This is a really AUPing-centric map. You want to have your emphasis on your snipers on this if possible, and really on keeping that CT utility flushed out and managing the economy as well. If you have all of your grenades still on board when the T executes come through on overpass, you can have a great time knocking those Ts back. But conversely, if the T side can get towards the sites with quite a few Molotovs in hand, then it's very easy for them to take control with utility and force the CTs into a retake scenario. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup, and it could be centered around those CT sides and who manages the economy better, honestly, because you can get off to a really rough start in the first 5 or 6 rounds as the CT squad, and in a best of one format, you don't have the space to mess that up here on Overpass.
Yeah, and on a map like Overpass as well, that pistol round is so vital in terms of getting the economy in. As vital as it is on other maps, I feel like, you know, whereas, you know, you can go with the typical, like, rush B straight away off the pistol round, try and sweep it up, pick up some kills. It's an interesting way to go about it, but there is, you know, that other side where, you know, I mean, the CTs with those USPs can hit those really long-range shots over towards A. And now it is time to hop into game number 1 of the evening, brought to you by Unite Students and Logitech G. And it looks like we're going to have the knife round off the start to decide exactly what side each team is going to be on tonight.
Absolutely. Both sides going to be vying for that CT start, you have to imagine, and it looks like the Sea Stags are the squad who should have the advantage going forward. I can't really see a way that Chris manages that, but fair play, he gets the double tap. So a CT start in a best of 1, I really would not undervalue that whatsoever. It could allow you, if you have that correct economic management, to try and shut your opponents totally out of this particular matchup. But it does look as though the swaps are going around. Manchester are going to be starting on the CT side, as we do expect. And this is a map that can really all be about probing for information and those early one-on-one duels. So in terms of Manchester and their CT side, they want to use aggression, but they want to use it tactically. Push up to try and get a pick or two at the start of the round. Make sure that you don't give too much map control away to the Sea Stags. But if you lose too many CTs too aggressively, those site takes get all the easier for the attacking side.
You mentioned controlled aggression. It's the name of the game now, as it looks like Sea Stags are going to start making a push over towards A site. Devo's identified this. Disengages. Going to have Panny round the back to provide some fire support. Magic gets the opening kill as the flashbang comes out. Samuel gets the second. Panny's still going to be going out as now one player down on the stairs is going to be absolutely tagged up. Seabass doing his best to try and return the fire, but Samuel going to be able to take down Chris. Seabass down as well. And Kavana now the final player left up. It's not looking great, and that's going to be Sea Stags taking our first round win.
And this is what I meant when I said that the firepower from the UWE Sea Stags really is terrifying. They don't lose a single player in that opening pistol round. They totally dominate the gunfights and catch Manchester a little bit off guard with the pace, it looks like. A scout and 4 Deagles coming forward into this one means it is that full force investment, as Manchester know. They'll probably have to double eco either way, and they're going to get aggressive with these pistols at the start.
Yep, Devo pushing up quick, but Stanovsky going to be able to identify it. Doesn't matter. The 1D coming out. Down he goes. Samuel as well. Is actually, the tide is turning in the favor of Hive here, as Magic going to be able to take down one in response. That's going to be rough here for Sea Stags, as they only have 2 players left remaining. And both very split off here. Magic looking like he wants to try and return over towards PJ, but this should be pretty easy to identify here for Hive. They should have an idea that the player is backing off of a site. Chris, however, going to be down to low HP. Smokes, flashes coming out. It doesn't matter. He returns the fire. Out goes PJ. Magic in the clutch scenario. Can he make it happen? He's watching out the aim battle over the barrels, but just not quite landing it until that final bullet on towards Chris. Tries to take it on towards heaven, but things are looking so rough right now. But Panny with the rotate gets taken out. He's down to a 2v1, but never mind, as Seabass landing the scout headshot.
A very valiant attempt there from Magic, but unfortunately just can't quite pull it off with the AK at the end. But you do have to commend Manchester Hive with basically nothing to work with utility-wise. All they had was those Deagles and that Scout, and they made the headshots work in the early round. 3 lightning-quick entries leads them now to a firm economic advantage, and if they can farm with these MP9s, they'll be flush for cash for the rest of this half. Well, at least the start of it.
Kavona identified the push, will be able to take down Magic. Looks like Hive want to try and disengage off of this a little as PJ tries to make the push through connector, will get heard. Molotov comes out, slows it down. Not a great scenario right now if you are C-Stags. 4 players remaining and no real weapons to work with. Luckily, they did have some strong utilities. They could make something happen. But if you're Hive right here, you're going to be looking very strong, especially with all those SMGs at close range. Panny forced to cover long, has to back off of bathroom here. Demo goes for the peek, identifies the player coming out. He's going to call this out, however. 2 Kavonas, 1 goes down. Nice little passive-aggressive play there, but it's not going to work out as the Deagle just does so much damage. Chris making the final stand, low on ammo, has to land something big. Over to the pistol, Seabass, he has to provide some support, but it's going to be too late, as now Seabass in a 1v2 tries to take the shots with the MP9, but he's just wide open right here. C-Stags, they're going to be looking to make something big happen to clean this up. 1 player going to be low, it's going to be Crit, but he returns the fire with the 1 Deag, and C-Stags, it looks like they managed to reset this early round loss now.
Indeed, it's back-to-back Deagle victories, but for opposing sides. And these kind of scrappy interchanges where rounds are going back and forth tends to always favor the T side. They have the cheaper weaponry available. They tend to do better in those economic scenarios. It's the CTs who really want to try and string multiple rounds together to build their bank. So Hive decide they just have to work with these Deagles once again. They don't have too many weapons to invest into, and 2 players already off the board off the back of this early aggression. This time, it's not quite worked out for the Manchester squad. They're going to try and get a pick here or there, but this one looks to be comfortably belonging to the UWE C-Stags.
This is not great if you're Manchester. You want to take that momentum from the pistol round, but it just doesn't work out. As now Chris, the final player left up with the Deagle, going to be able to take down 1, but things are not looking good for him right now. PJ drops down, identifies the player. There it is. C-Stags picking up yet another round win.
And that is the momentum that you would anticipate them to bring forward. They do eventually dispatch of those Manchester Hive Deagles, if not a round later than perhaps they would have been expecting. But this is where you start to see dividends towards your early investments now. The C-Stags have a round for a bit of a breather. It's just going to be pistols from Manchester Hive coming through while they look for that economic reprieve. And they look for an AWP investment, honestly. I can't understate how effective a really good CT AWPer can be on this map of Overpass. And Chris is the man with the most money for the Manchester squad at the moment, so perhaps he's going to be the player looking towards purchasing it in this next round, because the C-Stags are off to an incredible amount of T-sided momentum already. They're going to have a 4-1 scoreline before the full guns actually come out into what is actually one of the more CT-sided maps in the pool.
C-Stags looking like they want to try and switch it up now. They've attempted the A play. And it looks like Hive may be realizing that this switch-up could come out as they've lost so many rounds in a row over at A site. They have to try something else out. So instead, going to be getting aggressive over towards B, and a nice little opening kill coming out from Samwell. Gets the second as well. PJ going to be going down, though, to the USP. So now Hive have themselves an AK, but still only 2 players standing. This is not great. Samwell going to be getting more and more aggressive. The jump shot coming out over on towards Devo. Panny, the final player left up, watching out for it. We see now the C-Stags, they just have a perfect pinch, and it's over quickly for Panny. Maybe now, however, this could be Hive's opportunity to reset and get an actual rifle round in.
Indeed, they don't have enough cash for the AWP, so we see Seabass has to drop down to the Scout, which is only a 1-shot kill to the head and means he's going to be way more reliant on a supporting rifler to try and get some of these frags through with the body tags occurring. It looks like the C-Stags just want to charge into the B bomb site, though, and Chris is the man who has to defend.
The Molotov goes down. They slow down the push from C-Stags. It should give players an opportunity to start the rotate because Seabass takes down one. Chris with the second, but he gets traded out quickly. Seabass down as well as Chris connects with the Mac-10. And a quick cleanup coming out from Hive there. Beautiful play coming out from the CT side. Identifying the push early, throwing down the Molotov. It slows down Stags. It gives Hive the opportunity to get all of their players onto that site super quick.
Rushing like that really is a gamble from the C-Stags. On the one hand, you could catch your opponents completely off guard, shatter that CT economy after its first buy, and then look to continue your T-sided dominance. But on the other, they have their utility in hand, 3 players stacked in the site, and they just shut you down. Magic wants to go in for a quick peek, but he's been spotted. The communication's a little bit slow, but Seabass can clear it up in the end, and that gives the advantage now towards the CT squad. They've cancelled the majority of their A aggression, fearing an execute towards that side of the map. And right now it sees Stags just playing it slowly. They want to try and get an early pick before they attack a bomb site here to try and bring it back into a 4-on-4 situation. That's why you've seen Manchester Hive retreat all of their players back into the bomb site to play defensively. They don't want to give away this man advantage.
C-Stags still going with a bit of a split play. They haven't decided to completely group up yet. They're kind of playing for Hive to try and push out onto this and start getting aggressive, but the utility usage will come out. This could give C-Stags a bit of an opportunity to identify players from Hive, as Samuel going to be going down. 3 players left up from C-Stags. Crit trying his best to group up with his teammate PJ, but if he opens this door, it'll give Hive the info that they need. Flashbangs will be coming out as Hive just playing so slowly. They've had a rough start to the game, and they need to make this build-up happen. As things just slowing down. 25 seconds left on the clock. C-Stags realize they have to get aggressive now. Flashbangs coming out. Stanoski goes for the peek out of tunnel. Beautiful smoke usage coming out from them, but it means that Stanoski and his teammate, the only 2 left on the site. The plant will give the audio cue as Parney going to be getting more and more aggressive through the smoke. Ooh. Spots out one, but a nice little tap coming out from Stanoski. Down goes Parney.
Surely
3 players left up. Crit takes one and another. Crit traded out PJ and Stanoski, the 2 remaining players here from C-Stags, as Hive tried to go for the defuse here, will get taken out. Oh. Nice little spray through the smoke. Kavona going to be able to trade it out, and it looks like Hive should be able to get the defuse on towards this now.
Wow, that round really showing you the value of utility in CSGO. C-Stags a man down with no time on the clock, just dump the smokes and Molotovs that they have within the B bomb site and create enough space for them to go for that full plant commitment. Then you start to see the scary firepower from Crit, who's already on 10 kills, nearly clutched that whole round out. It was thanks to one short smoke, really, that allowed the trade situation for Manchester Hive at the end of that one. But this is a huge kill onto Corona at the start for the C-Stags. It forces a second player up onto the A site, but Chris answers back immediately down towards B, relieves some of that defensive pressure on Manchester Hives and puts C-Stags back in a position where they still need to feel out this map and determine what the most effective route to attacking a bomb site is going to be.
You mentioned how important that AWP is, as it is going to be able to take down Corona, but the trade connects as Devo, I think he realizes there could be a player on the other side. There's smoke, but unfortunately the shot not going to land. Seabass taken out, however. There's Devo going to be going down as well. Parney and Chris, the 2 remaining players, they have to make a final stand as Magic starts to get more and more aggressive onto the site. The stairs will be smoked. It's going to make things rough here for Parney to be able to make anything happen, as Magic getting more and more aggressive, ready for a potential push. A nice little boost coming out, though, from Manchester Hive now as they try their best to get an angle on towards this. He drops down. That should give the info. Magic spotted it out, has an idea there's going to be a player over here, takes down one player left up. It's going to be Chris, and now the execute coming out from C-Stags. Magic traded out, but never mind, because PJ going to be the one to finish the job.
Great round there from the C-Stags, recovering despite their lurk player going down on B. They dominated the mid-round trades on that one, and now they're in a dominant position economically as well. 5-3 up on the T side. They've broken Manchester's economy yet again, down to just scouts and pistols for the Northern squad, and it's AKs and an AWP for the Sea Stags. They just want to be careful they don't lose any rifles to some CT aggression here. A cheeky CZ pushing could find itself an upgraded weapon for the next round, and that means PJ is going to have to play defensively in these tunnels. He only gets one before falling, so Magic is going to try and deny the scavenging attempt from this CT side, as Crit has arrived as well, potentially as the clean up crew. He just wants to steal this one last AK away, and that'll be the round towards the Sea Stags. But if Devo Dusol can continue to frag out here, find as much as he can, then that economic damage will certainly be felt by the Sea Stags.
Devo doing what he can, making that final stand. He knows the Sea Stags have an idea of where he is, so they will be sending player around the back, because now it is just going to come down to defending these pushes in kind of aim battles. They're not sure, however, whether Devo has been able to get out of here. They should have an idea, and there it is, Samwell with the AWP. You spoke about how powerful it is, and we're starting to see, now that teams are able to pick up an AWP, just how powerful they can be on overpass.
Absolutely, and the Sea Stags showing you their power on the T side right now. Manchester, I don't think, have been in a position to actually afford a defensive AWP, and if they have, it just got picked off straight away by Samwell in the one gun round that they invested. So, unfortunately for the Manchester squad, this is what I was talking about in the pre-game. Their economy has not been able to get off the ground on their CT side, which means they haven't been able to invest into the rifles and the utility that they need to defend these bomb sites, and the ultimate consequence of that is that the Sea Stags are able to build up a healthy round lead on their T side. They're only, it looks like, going to lose one player in that eco round, and now at a 7-3 lead, Manchester Hive have another tough decision to make. They can go for the full investment, but again, they don't have enough money to invest into an AWP, so it's going to be another M4 or a scout, and that utility is lacking as well. No Molotovs available and very limited on the flashbangs. It shows you that the Sea Stags really are starting to come into a dominant position during this first half and are looking for some more early picks too.
Yep, Sea Stags, they're using that long-range weaponry. They saw how effective it was in the previous round, so looking like they want to go with a bit of a split here. Send the AWP over towards A, potentially try and clear out long, as PJ just going to be holding that angle over towards B. Kavana going to be able to spot out one as he tries to disengage, and it's not great taking an aim battle on this kind of long position, especially when you know that Sea Stags have themselves an AWP. But now, Kavana going to be able to get the opening kill over on towards Samwell, as it looks like Hive deciding to back off of this. It's going to be interesting to see what Sea Stags do, but it doesn't look like they've been deterred, as now they want to get more and more aggressive. Magic going for the AK taps over on towards boxes. One player will be getting spotted out. Crit takes down Devo. Kavana ready to go for the peak, but doesn't want to overextend here. Will be spotted out, but unfortunately not hit. Party holding the side angle, takes down Magic, followed by Crit as well. Two players left up. Stanosti peeks out. Nice shots landing. Party's out. Hive, they're looking to try and make the return here as they take down one more. Crit is out, but never mind, because PJ eliminated by Kavana.
Oh, that was very, very close indeed. PJ nearly going for the swing and pulling off that initial engagement within the A bomb site. But that really is a vital round for Manchester Hive to win in this first half. 4 more to be played, including this one, and their bank is on crutches, to say the least. One loss and they would be facing economic ruin, but the T-sided bank isn't perfect either. If they can start to wake up at the end of this first half, they might just be able to end up with the 8-7 if they play the cash right. Sea Stags feeling like they want to try out B this time, and in another round where utility is limited for Manchester Hive, this could work out. If the Sea Stags can get a bomb plant, there is not much for Hive to work with on the retake.
Did see Hive got the peak with the jump scout, but there it is, Crit. Beautifully taken out by Crit there. Skavana with the AK, not gonna win the battle there. Stanoski takes one down, followed by a second. Seabass down as well, as Party, the final player, left up, but not for long, as C-Stags, that one round loss, it didn't slow them down. They're carrying over this momentum, and their economy is looking so much stronger now. Hive, the same cannot be said for, however.
Look at Crit, 17 kills in 13 rounds played. We're not yet at the end of the first half, so this could potentially be a 30-bomb scenario if he's going to be picking up that defensive fragging as well. The Manchester economy totally devastated. They're taking a hard eco at this stage in the first half of the map, presumably to get a full buyout in the second last round of this first half, but Stanoski doing some good work with the anti-eco frags. The lack of body armor, of course, on those T-sided players means it's really difficult for the Pistols to try and find any kills, but he gets a quad kill, tries to sort of creep up to Crit's statistics, but for Manchester Hive, they are desperate to win both of the remaining rounds in these halves, because if C-Stags are allowed an 11-4 T-side, they switch over. All they need is the pistol round, and this map would be all but over. Finally, we see an AWP come out for the CT squad, but there's no body armor to support it on Parney.
The glass cannon setup. The question is it going to be too little too late? As Devo playing it slow now after the rush didn't work out last round. Crit going to be able to take down one as Parney with the Orm will be able to trade it out. Chris holding the tunnel as I think he identifies a player over in Connector. Magic getting spotted, but no shots landing from him. Chris caught with a headshot from Samwell. Nice shot landing through the wall as now Manchester Hive, they seem to be a little bit split off here. Kavana going to be getting spotted as well, as now it's down to a 2v4. Hive need to try and group up here to at least prevent, you know, either of these players just getting taken out in an aim battle, at least be able to pick up a trade out of it. But this is looking less and less likely as C-Stags, they move as a unit, and they know as soon as one player's down, they can just go out, they can hunt, they can take these aim battles, and oh, Seabass with the flick on towards Stanoski, almost gets punished for focusing over on Connector, but it isn't going to work out, as now Seabass down to low HP, Parney going to be playing Heaven, looking to try to spot one out. Bomb has been planted. The Seabass is down, and C-Stags, they are just playing this so slowly. They do not want to peek out unless they absolutely have to right here.
For sure, Parney with the AWP is so limited by the range of that weapon. If he gets anywhere near the bomb site, he's going to have a total nightmare at retaking with that gun. So he knows he just has to retreat towards A, and I think they might have even sent some players out to try and hunt him down as well. Last round of the half coming up, he narrowly escapes into the bathrooms, but the flashes are coming. A close range shot needed, and he can't land it. That is absolute nightmare territory for Manchester Hive at the end of this first half. They can afford no M4s or AWPs to complement their playstyle. It's Scouts, MP9s, and FAMASs as the C-Stags look to close out a dominant 11-4 half, and Crit, he's already hit 20 kills in this first half.
I mean, you mentioned the AWPs are strong. What can we say about the Scout, though? If the headshots land, this could be big for Hive, but it's looking unlikely as C-Stags making a perfect push together. The flashbangs come out and moving as a unit, and that's something you've got to give C-Stags credit for, as Samwell will be able to spot out one. Chris going to start getting aggressive with this MP9. Party doing the same, as I think they realize now that the execute has come out over on towards A. Magic takes down one, and the no-scope on towards Kavona now, as he tries to pick up the final two players. It's not going to be enough as Seabass trades it out. Crit going down as well, so it's looking a little bit precarious now if you are Hive or C-Stags, as they're down to a 1v2. Seabass going to be looking to try and land one more, but it's not going to be enough as round 15 goes the way of the UWE C-Stags.
Magic really showing his confidence at the end of that round there. Lovely no-scope as well to deal with some of the advancing players. And we talk about how impressive Crit's firepower is, but let's make no mistake at this point in time, every single player from the UWEC Stag squad is over double digits at the moment. They are just totally dominating the gunfights across the board. Whereas you look at the Manchester Hive squad, and they have some players who only survived through 2 rounds of that last half. They have some players who didn't survive through any of them. They are desperate for this pistol round, to say the least, but the USPs, they're going to try and deny. What a crossfire! And it's all over before it can even begin. Hive can't even get close to the bomb site before the Sea Stags begin to shut them down.
The absolute fragging power coming out from C-Stags there. Beautiful headshots landed left, right, and center. And you've got to be looking optimistic if you are C-Stags in a position like this. You won the first half, there's no doubt there. And now you pick up the pistol round on your CT side. This has to be looking strong. The Deagle execute will be coming out from Hive as Magic going to be watching through the Molotov, trying his best to land something. C-Stags, they don't want to make the same mistake they made in the early rounds of letting, getting a bit too aggressive when you have those ARs. So Magic, he's just going to be chilling inside the smoke. Chris will get absolutely lit up. And there we go. Magic playing sneaky, takes down 2. Seabass gets the trade, but it's looking rough here if you are Manchester Hive, as the M4 spray not quite landing. Magic goes down as well. It's a 3v3, but the health is not favoring the Hive right now. As C-Stags, they learned this in the first half. They are executing it so well now, moving as a unit, but Crit going to be getting spotted from behind. Samwell takes the second, as now Parney going to be the final player left up here for Manchester Hive, trying to move away, but PJ is just ready for it.
Indeed, you mentioned not getting too aggressive with those ARs, and C-Stags, they nearly lose the round because of it, but that late round Deagle flank nearly won it for Manchester Hive. It just came through a second too late. The front player for C-Stags was able to tick around behind the wall, and that meant that the player in the rear who wasn't actually getting shot at was able to turn around and dispatch that flank off the back of things. Could have been a steal away from the Hive, but unfortunately luck was not on their side in that round. And well, the weaponry was for the C-Stags. They dominate the early stages, and with this round there would be virtually nothing for Manchester to work with going through the half. They've had 2 players invest, and well, a couple have tried to save a little bit. It's starting to get messy in the comms, I think, for this T side, and all spread out across the map. They're just going to try and win their gunfights.
Yep, it will heavily come down to aim battles here if you are Hive. They have to try and group up, but it doesn't appear to be the case. As, oh no, Seabass. He opens the door, he looks in the wrong direction, gets punished for it. Crit now, he's identified these 2 remaining players, goes for the USP kill, gets a double. Beautiful kills coming out there from Crit, as C-Stags now only 2 rounds away from victory. They've got to be super comfortable in this position right here.
They absolutely do. This is looking incredible from Crit. This performance, 26 kills, a 30 bomb, more than within reach, even if there are only 2 more rounds left to play in this one. And that is very scary indeed. He's coming into his own as a fragger, and Magic, he's trying to get aggressive at the start of this one. It's Crit who finds the first kill, and C-Stags continue to dominate.
Magic gets the second, PJ traded out, makes it a third though, as he's trying his best to finish the job. 2 players left up from Hive. So here it comes again, not getting too aggressive when you have the gunpowder. Magic peeks out, not expecting Devo to be in that position, however, so he will be getting taken out. It's a 2v3 as Samwell going to be moving through connector to try and sneak up behind Hive, but it's going to be a little bit rough as they do start to go for a reposition. He seems to be posted up for them to move out the back, maybe not expecting them to in fact be moving directly over towards B site. That's so unfortunate there. Walking almost straight past each other, but the audio should have come out now from Hive, but never mind, as Party able to identify Crit, lands a beautiful spray. The bomb plant going to be going down, and if there's ever a time for a comeback, this is it. It's a 2v2, they've got the bomb planted, but Samwell with the fragging power takes down one. Stanoski coming in for the trade, and we spoke about Stags working as a unit, playing for the trades, and that right there is just a prime example of it.
Absolutely it is. And the Manchester Hive squad, they go for a little bit of a gamble on that one. They believe that because they find the early pick into the B site, they get that plant down. If any of the Sea Stags players are on the A bomb site, the fastest way to rotate down is into that heaven position. So they decide they want to try and take a two-man hold of long to hold the bomb in the late stages and hope that Sea Stags are going to take their time. Unfortunately, Sea Stags were playing aggressively. They were coming in both through connector, and they ended up catching the timing, winning those engagements, and putting themselves one round away from winning this map.
Chris takes down the first, and is there anything worse than getting knifed by your own teammate in the early game? As Seabass already going to be down to half HP. That's not looking good for them, but Hive, I think they're starting to work as more of a unit. There's Panny going to be able to take down Stanoski. Grit, gets the trade. 2 players left up for UWE. PJ holding the angle. The AUE shot comes out, lands perfectly over towards him. Crit now, final player left up, and I mean, there's the possibility here that Hive are able to pick up the win, but it's looking very slim as Crit down to only 20 health. He needs to take some absolutely insane shots to be able to clean the job up here.
Yeah, with the CT economy in the position that it is, actually, the AK would be a welcome addition to the next round bye for the Sea Stags. PJ and Magic have nothing whatsoever to work with. They're going to be on minimum loss bonus, you have to imagine, as I don't think Manchester Hive have won a single round in this half. So if the Sea Stags do want to go for a full investment, this AK being saved from Crit is going to be vital. But if I'm not mistaken, he has now secured his 30 bomb off the back of a triple kill in this round as well. At 15-5, that is total insanity. 30 kills off of such a short number of total rounds played. You can definitely see where the confidence for this CT side is coming from, but the cash unfortunately just isn't there. That's the nature of the beast. Even though you win many rounds at the start of your CT half, if you don't have all your players alive, you get hurt money-wise. So it's going to have to be a save for the Sea Stags. A win is inevitable on this map. It's not going to happen this round though.
Crit, got the AK, he's feeling confident, takes down one, but Parney with the trade. Kavona going to be holding that angle with the AUE as Chris getting more aggressive. Over on towards Stanoski, PJ takes down one. Samwell now managed to pick up the AK, so there is the possibility, but as Kavona gets the kill over on towards Samwell, it's looking less and less likely as now Magic eliminated. Sea Stags are going to be giving the round away. And now the question is, can Hive carry on this momentum? It would be an absolutely insane feat for them to be able to somehow take this to overtime, but never say never in a game like CSGO.
Indeed, if it was a 13-6, 14-6 scoreline, I would feel slightly more confident in their chances to come back. But at 15-6, the chances that you end up making one mistake as a team are so high, especially when you're on the slightly weaker side of this map. Corona there trying to find a refrag for the early trades. It's actually Chris who'll get it, but Crit maintains the man advantage. So it's Sea Stags putting on pressure, and this AUE is desperate to get a reply. Now it's taken down, and it's messy at the start of this round as the flanks upon flanks are coming through, but Magic, he's pushing the bomb carrier, but he's given the sound cues away. If he wins the gunfight, it could be huge, and it leaves Seabass desperate now for a 1 versus 2 to save his team in this match.
Seabass, last player standing. A lot of pressure got to be riding on his shoulders, but if there's ever a time to pull out that AK, now it is. He's on full HP. Magic, however, is not. Stanoski going to be holding this side angle. They're expecting the peak to come out. It has to happen because the bomb is down. Seabass going for it ever so slowly. Pre-aiming every possible angle as Magic ready for it. Takes down Magic. Can he survive? Not looking like it. This is going to be UWE Sea Stags with our first win of the evening.
Indeed, they are going to be our first winners of the day. And at 16-6, what a dominant win it was. 11-4 on the T side of Overpass, really showing us just how much fragging power the Sea Stags really have. And of course, the majority of that was coming from Crit again. He's turned up in week 2 of this Varsity tournament and earned himself, I think, 32 kills at the end of that first map. Absolute insanity from him. And clearly he's somebody who's really enjoying this best of 1 format.
I mean, we spoke about that raw fragging power and how kind of that pubby playstyle can come into it and pick up, very big wins. And that's definitely shown there by C-Stags with an absolutely dominant performance there. I was holding out hope for Hive that they could maybe pick up some more rounds towards the end, because let's not forget, we do still have another game tonight that we will go into in about 15 minutes from now. And I gotta say, going into a game after this, we talked about the mental earlier, losing by a significant number of rounds like Hive just did. How do you feel they're gonna fare going into their final game of the evening?
Well, I'm not too sure there's much you can take away from that particular loss on Overpass. They looked a little bit out of depth just in terms of the fragging, really, more than anything else on that one. So in terms of immediately fixing their gameplay tonight, perhaps I'd suggest not looking at allowing Overpass through into that final stage of the best of one, maybe going for something more neutral like a Mirage or an Inferno. I know Manchester like to play on, and that was floated in the latter stages, but C-Stags had the choice between Inferno and Overpass, and obviously they're going to pick that Overpass because you saw how dominant they really are on it. So for the Hive squad, there's not too much you can say for them to recover towards that next match. Just try and get the mental reset in and keep on drilling that aim, because really that match was all won by the gunfights from the UWE C-Stags.
I mean, we have to say, like, that little 4 or 5k coming out over in the second pistol round, that was absolutely huge for them. And the momentum that carried over was just absolutely massive. And we saw, even though it looked like Hive could have maybe made something happen, when you're down by that many rounds, it's pretty much over for most teams.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And again, I think the UWEC Stags could be coming into their own as maybe the most dominant team in Newell Varsity CSGO. We'll have to see. But I'm also looking forward to the match that we have coming up next. It is going to be the Derby Gods up against the Oxford Brooks Vipers. And I think that one is set to be a little bit more competitive than that first map was. I think it's going to be a bit more of a balanced affair. And I'm really excited to see what kind of competitive Counter-Strike we're going to be able to witness.
Yep, and, before we go into those games, we got to take a little bit of a break, get some water, catch our breath, because that was an absolutely huge one. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very short break, but we will be back in a couple minutes to break down what just happened and give our kind of insight going in to game number 2 of the evening.